Hello everyone, this is Stationery Stream. Today I wanted to talk about the Mont calligraphy pens, just because I think they're a bit underrated and they're very easily accessible. They come in a tin set like this, and when you open it, it does come with quite a few things, which obviously I have used. So I've had this set for about a year, and it does come with 5 nibs, so you get an extra fine, medium, broad, and an extra broad with 20 cartridges and a converter. I have used up the cartridges in various number of pens, and I bought this as my third fountain pen purchase because I really wanted to explore stub nibs and calligraphy pens for an affordable price. So this was $35 Australian, and it was a pretty good bargain for money, and it worked right out of the box. The set does not come with, so the pens actually look more like this. There is no sparkles or any trims or anything. I've just added some extra washi tape just to add a bit more interest to the fountain pens because I used them. This one used to have a pen clip, but after chucking it in a bag multiple times, the pen clip fell off, so now it just looks like this. And I've added the washi tape on either end. So since then, I have made sure not to use the pen clips as vigorously as I did before. So I'll go through these 2 pens today. They are all interchangeable pens and nibs, which makes it easy. So the pen bodies itself aren't that different from each other. So you get a plain blue pen body, a purple pen body, teal, and black. I'm not a huge fan of black, so this one's the only one that looks like its original packaging. I'll see if I can find which pen has the converter. I believe it's this one. Yes, so it does come with a converter as well. It's a bit stiff to move now because I've used it so often. And I have not tried to disassemble the converter to see if it can be easily cleaned. The pens itself are easily disassemblable. So this one is a friction fit nib. You can pull it out and interchange the nibs that way to clean it if you wish, particularly if you're using shimmer inks. So as you can see, I might bring this one back out again. This one's the most extreme in terms of how a stub nib works. You can see that it has a flattened edge, so you'll get thick downstrokes and thin side strokes. I tend to use that particular nib as a highlighter or for headings. At the moment, I don't have that one inked up. I currently have this one and this one inked up, and the other 2 pens aren't inked up. I believe there should be another nib in this one. And this one is empty. So let's move on to actually testing out the pens. Today I plan to use this paper from the Pelican Hub's, or Pelican Hub depending on how you pronounce it, 2022 paper. It's probably my most fountain pen friendly paper that I own at the moment. Eventually I will go down the rabbit hole of exploring different types of papers, but so far this one's pretty good. So it looks like this. I'm going to put it at an angle just for my writing purposes. The nibs I have on today are the fine and extra fine. The reason why I wanted to do this video today was because I've seen a lot of people online asking about affordable ways to explore the stub nibs in general. So these aren't sharp, and they're very smooth to write with, and they are affordable. I can compare it against a more name-branded stub nib that other people may be more familiar with. This one here is the Monteverde Monza. This one has a 1mm italic nib. I'll call it italic just because it is a sharper stub nib in comparison to the Mont versions. This one's a little bit more difficult to write with if you aren't familiar with writing with stub nibs. So when I'm referring to stub nibs, I am referring to the fact that you do get, let's see if I can zoom in here 1 second. Here we go. I'm going to put the pelican logo at the top so I know where I'm at. Alright, so I am referring to the thin side strokes and the thick downstrokes, which you can see here. It adds nice variety to your writing. So I'm an underwriter. I've trained myself in the Palmer hand grip method. So when I write, my letters will look like this. Sorry, well, this is a Lady Rose. So let's put the ink name down here, just as a writing sample. So this is Ferris Wheel Press. So that's what my normal handwriting will look like. If you are a side writer where you hold it like this, you will get thin downstrokes and thick side strokes. So some people find that they're not getting this lovely stub nib variation, they're getting more of an architect. So an architect nib gets the thin downstrokes and the thick side strokes. So if you want an imitation architect nib and you don't want to pay the extra amount for the custom grind, you can just turn your pen to the side and write in this way. So if I do the same thing, let's just write Lady Rose again. You'll see it has a different character. Whoops, that's an O. Compared to the one above. Some books for calligraphy will advise that you hold the pen at a 45-degree angle to get the nicer variations in cursive. So if we do Lady Rose again this way, it'll look like that. So this is a nib I've tried to modify a little bit just because I thought I'd try changing the way it flowed. If you want one that's straight out of the box, it will be probably this pen. This one's a very wet writer, and I find that most papers can't handle how much ink it lays down. So if you look at this one, this also has thin side strokes and thick downstrokes, but it's significantly wetter than the other fountain pen. It's a combination of the ink, so this one is Diamine Bilberry. Let's just zoom out again, so get a bit of a better picture. But it does lay down ink quite wetly. And I find that it is nice for people who like to have a very wet, smooth writing experience. I tend to refer to this pen as more of a broad nib than a stub nib, though in actuality it is quite stub-like. It is very smooth writing in comparison to, say, the Monteverde Monza, which this is a 1.1 nib. You will notice that it does have, I'll zoom back in again, this pen in comparison has very thin side strokes and a more noticeable downstroke, but it's also like this one here is technically an extra fine on the nib, and this one was the fine. Sorry, let's zoom there. So that one was a fine, this one was an extra fine. This one, which is the Monteverde Monza, is actually a 1.0 calligraphy pen. But you'll notice here that the variation in the lines are significantly different compared to the extra fine of the Mont brand. So it depends on what type of lines you prefer. I prefer the thinner lines just because my handwriting is quite small, but I do like the lay down of the wetter applications of the broader nib sizes. So I still use all types of fountain pens, and it is quite good for italic calligraphy. I'm not very well versed in italic, or even I believe it's called black letter. I used to practice that quite a bit, but I've lost most of those skills. But if we go with italic calligraphy, so I think one of the examples they had in the box was the name Rosemary. Let's give that a shot. Yeah, I'm not very good at these types of calligraphy styles. I do ascribe more to the Palmer script method for my handwriting. But it's fun. It does have that line variation if you'd like. And if you want to try a stub nib but don't want to pay the extra amount of money for the more sharper calligraphy pens, but you want a tiny bit of line variation, I recommend the Mont fountain pens. There is a better review of the set by SBRE Brown, but I thought another first-hand experience would be useful, particularly because I have had this pen set for over a year now and I still use it every day. As you can tell from the nice bruised and battered fountain pens that I am currently using. So this is more like a longevity review, similar to what Down the Breather Hole does, where I've used the pens every day for over a year, and these are my experiences with them. I hope you enjoyed this pen review. It's more an opinion piece about this type of fountain pen. If you'd like to give it a go, I've heard they're very easily accessible worldwide. It is a brand that they try to encourage art for the lower end markets, just to introduce you to the area. And if you like it, then you could go for the more pricier calligraphy pens, such as the Lamy Joy. The Pilot Parallels are more technical calligraphy pens, or even as a gateway into the calligraphy nibs and stub nibs that you would get on custom-made pens or more expensive pens like the Pelicans and the Leonardo pens, if you're not quite sure if you like the nib but want to try it out. I'm not sure if these nibs are interchangeable with other types of fountain pens. I don't have many number 6 nibs. I'll see if I can pull one out so you can have an idea of what it looks like outside of the housing. This is a nib I've just pulled. So it is friction fit. Whoops, off it goes. And it has this shape. I'll see if I can compare it to, like I do have a Jinhao X750. I heard that's a number 6 size nib. I believe this might be a number 5 size. Let me just pull the Jinhao and see if I can show that one as well. This is the Jinhao X750. So I'll just pull the nib on this one. Alright, so this is the number 6 nib from the Jinhao. In comparison, this is the one from the Mont. So I do believe this one would most likely be a number 5 nib size rather than a number 6. It's a very small nib in comparison. But I don't have any number 5 nibs at all. So that's if you want to modify your pens. I don't recommend it. I haven't even tried to see if this will fit onto here. I doubt it. Yep, definitely too small. So they are easily taken apart and put back together again, which is a perk for if you want to use, say, shimmer inks or higher maintenance inks. It is friction fit and just goes straight back into the housing. As you can see, it has a little bit of a circle there. It just slides in similar to what you'd expect. There we go. Just find the easy place where it goes in and just slide it in like that. I haven't had any issues with these pens since I've gotten them. They're very wet, they're very easy to use. Give it a try. They're affordable if you want to try them out. But they're not very much talked about, particularly online. If you've tried this pens, let me know what you think of them. I've heard a lot of people mention being careful about the inks and the pens and the feeds, but honestly I've never had any issues with them at all. I think it's more people just recommending that because it has the name Calligraphy in the pen set, people get worried about the fact that it uses calligraphy inks, so they get worried about the types of inks that are provided with the fountain pen. But honestly, I've used up every single one of those calligraphy inks that come with the pen in the cartridges, and I've never had a single clog issue or problem with it. And I've also used my shimmer inks in them without any issue as well. So this is the Mont calligraphy fountain pens. Comment down below if you've used them before and what you think of them, and whether you think they're underrated, rated, or if you'd recommend them to other people to use. This is Stationery Stream. Thank you for joining in. See you next time.